I know everyone's here for the gift card, okay, but my hope is you actually walk away with a couple of cool things about Proxess and ultimately what you can do to more effectively secure whatever facility you have for which you have responsibility. Can everyone? How's the sound? Is it pretty good, Taylor? Can you hear? Everything's
I think
good?
so. Yeah, you're a little like gruffly, but I can hear.
Okay, well, roughly isn't good. I'm not
I
sure
think you're
what
better
roughly is,
maybe
but it
now
says
that
it
you're
sounds good.
closer.
Okay. All right. Well, if it's just speak up. If it's not, I
Okay.
can blow out the AirPods here and just go regular speaker. So
Okay, yeah, and if
okay.
anyone else out there has trouble, let me know and we will get it sorted.
Yes. So as we go through here, I want to make sure this is very informal. So I think as I've watched previous webinars, you were going to watch the chat for us, Taylor. All right. So now my hope is I'll take about 20-ish minutes, maybe a little bit longer, maybe up to a half hour. We'll let the rest of the time be for questions. And my hope is that I give you 15 minutes or so back in your day. I think this is scheduled from 10 to 11 Eastern. But I'm going to give you some time back. And because ultimately there's a lot under the hood here with Proxess. So we're not going to get through everything in even a 45 minute, even if I went 45 minutes. So I'm not going to try to do that, because it doesn't make any sense and you'll only remember one or two things from today anyway. So I'm going to just keep it the high points, ask questions as we go along. And I am very excited. I want to thank Taylor and the IPS team for allowing Proxess to be a part of this today. And again, thank you all for taking some time. My responsibility is to make sure it's worth your while. Okay. First things first, my name is Paul with Proxess. I actually live in Indiana, so right next door. Proxess is headquartered out of Colorado. We're the oldest company you've never heard of. So behind me is our website. If you've never been to proxess.com, it's a great place to go. I'm going to go there here in a minute just to show you a couple things. How great would it be to just have a whole webinar where we just go through our website and that's all we do? We're not going to do that. I promise. You all can do it on your own. But we are the oldest company you've never heard of. Almost 9 years, Proxess has been around. And our foundational principle is very, very simple. We want to deliver electronic access control and an electronic access control system. And we want to build that system. We have built that system into a grade 1 institutional lock. And we want to deliver it to the marketplace, to end user institutional customers, primarily colleges, schools, hospitals, municipalities, utilities companies, for about the price of a grade 1 keyed lock. Electronic access control system built into a grade 1 institutional lock for about the price of a grade 1 keyed lock. I'm going to give you the high points, but if you manage a facility, chances are you're still carrying brass keys for the majority of the interior of your buildings. Because until really this webinar in this moment, you've only known of mechanical locks and brass keyed access control systems as the only cost-effective way to manage hundreds, if not thousands of doors and hundreds, if not thousands of users until Proxess. So you're going to see a lot in the next 15 minutes or so where you're going to say, hey, that's electronic access control. I already have electronic access control for my facility. And to that, Proxess says, fantastic. If you love your current online electronic access control, primarily for your exteriors of your building, so do we. We love it. If you want to expand it, we want you to expand it. But here's what we know. We know at about $3,500 a door or more, the fantastic electronic access control systems available today are too cost prohibitive to go inside the building and down the hallway. Whether it's on classroom doors, office doors, student room housing doors, so on and so forth. Outbuilding doors. Buildings without internet access and without connectivity at all. how do you put electronic access control on those doors? So that's where Proxess wants to start. That's the vision here. And so I spend a little time up front talking about that because Proxess is so cool. I mean, we have our own ecosystem of products and administration software that manages it. But at the heart of it, at the core of it, is what we like to call digital master key. So how do we convert brass keys that you, your staff, your students, your teachers, your employees are carrying, and convert those into a mobile key that everyone is carrying every day? And maybe I leave these at home, but somebody's going to let me in. Maybe I leave my ID badge at home, but somebody's going to let me in. I'll get a temporary one for today. But if I leave this bad boy at home, what am I doing? I'm turning around. I'm going back home and I'm getting this. So Proxess believes as things continue, more and more things converge to the phone, we are leading that effort with really cool mobile key technology, leveraging Bluetooth, no IT required. So I'm going to say that again, no IT required. So think about an electronic access control system that the facilities team can install. So old lock off, new Proxess lock on, no IT required. We use a different, really a completely different electronic access control architecture that we call network on credential. And it doesn't require IT, no network drops, no IP addresses, no Wi-Fi connectivity. The power goes off in the building. You've got 100 of these deployed throughout your building. Power goes down, Wi-Fi goes down. We don't care. As long as, if people are using their mobile phone as their key, as long as they've got battery power on their phone and they've got Bluetooth enabled, they can still access our locks, the Proxess locks in the Proxess system, just like they'd be able to do with no power in the building with the brass keys. All right, I'm getting ahead of myself. Put a pin in that. Let me just share a little bit, if I may, around who Proxess is. So let's go to content only, stand out side by side. I'm going content only. I'm going to share my screen here if I can. Perhaps I can't. Let's hang on a second. I should have this figured out. Yep. So let's go screen. All right. You can share my screen. There's my screen, maybe.
Yep.
Okay. Excellent. How am I doing? Can you see Proxess.com?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. All right. So as I said, I'm not going to spend a lot on Proxess.com here because you all can do that. But all the major door types Proxess can handle, all the way up to online doors. All right. So Proxess has our own controllers, our own readers. That traditional online electronic access control door, we absolutely can handle. But let me make sure I step back and say, hey, we believe our biggest opportunity for disruption and transformation for our customers is on the interior of buildings first, eliminating the daily use of brass keys and bringing digital master key to every door. And so that's why I'm going to take you to our design guide very quickly. So Proxess.com design guide. And I want to just share very quickly a highlight of our connectivity guide. So this is a great place to go to understand. If you walk away, if there's one or two things from today, you walk away and say, ooh, I remember that, I'm interested. Proxess.com/design guide. And then connectivity guide. And these are all active logos. So I can drill into each one of these as we see fit. So I'm going to just start here real quick, and then we're going to zoom back out. So remember, Proxess, electronic access control, it's a system that's built into a grade 1 institutional lock, and it's delivered to the marketplace through a limited group of dealer partners like IPS for about the price of a grade 1 key lock. So ultimately, we don't want to just pick a handful of doors and put Proxess on. Our vision is like we just recently did with a great Ohio school district here recently, where we put Proxess on every single door, every office door, every classroom door, every storage closet, every elevator room, every maintenance closet. Every single door got a Proxess lock because that team understood that brass keyed access control is the least secure access control in the world. It's 24/7, 365 undocumented access control. You can't turn these off. You can't turn them on. Once they're out into the world, they're out into the world. They're not connected to anything. They're very difficult to manage. And even if you've rekeyed recently, and I hate to break this to you, but you know it in your heart of hearts, even if you just finished a rekey recently, the clock has started ticking on your next rekey. That's just the reality because of the nature of pin tumbler locks and brass keyed access control. It's very easily duplicated. It's very easily compromised, but there's no blame here. Why is that? Why do 90% of the doors in any institutional building still use brass key for access control? It's because it's still, as I mentioned, the most cost-effective way to manage so many doors and so many users. All right, so that's our problem. We want to eliminate these. That's our passion. I can tell you, I did not grow up in Peoria, Illinois, thinking I'm going to completely change the world and transform the brass key pin tumbler marketplace. But here I am, and I'm very excited about it and excited to be a part of it with you today. So here's Proxess. This is kind of everything that Proxess can do. We've got two management systems. One is an app that's a download from the Apple Store or Google Play Store, designed to be the simplest way of moving from brass keyed access control to brass keyed master key to digital master key. It's an app download. You add doors, you add users, you manage your system right from your phone or from an iPad or from a tablet. It's very, very simple administration of a brass key master key system, making it digital. Unlimited doors, unlimited users. We call that Locks IQ. This is on the left side of the screen here. And it can manage any door, any type of door, unlimited doors, unlimited users. I'm going to primarily focus on that over the next 10 minutes and how it works and show you how Proxess works and the power of Proxess. You may, as you look at this and you get more familiar with Proxess, on the right side of your screen there, the Proxess IQ software is also an administration software, but it's more of that traditional electronic access control software. It's got all the bells and whistles. It's our enterprise level on-premise software, server client-based software, and it can then manage our online doors, any doors that you want to put fully online, just like everybody else out in the world has. Proxess can do that as well. Our app does not manage online doors. The Proxess IQ server client-based software manages both online doors and offline doors, all right, to give you an idea. So the reason I'm showing you connectivity guide here for a second is just to give you a sense of what Proxess is capable of, all right? And again, let me remind you, most everyone listening today, whether you're with the school district or a college or a municipality or a commercial entity of some kind, you likely already have electronic access control for your facilities, primarily for the exterior, okay? And that's a good thing. Like I mentioned before, if you love that, we love it, all right? So I do not want to disrupt that. Now, if you say, hey, I came here, Paul, because I want to learn more about electronic access control because I hate my current online electronic access control with the passion of 1,000 suns, and I want to, rip it out and replace it with something new. Obviously, Proxess would be happy to share with you how we can do that and not only bring those online doors, convert those current online doors to Proxess, but then go inside your building and add all the other doors in an offline capacity under the same system. Okay, however, today I just want to refocus you on this. So how does Proxess work? How does Proxess take pin tumbler locks and convert them into access control, electronic access control locks for about the price of a grade 1 keyed lock with no IT required? Crazy, you say? Well, it's not so crazy, and it's actually a really, really cool thing to behold. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to present again here quickly. I'm going to bring up this window. I'm going to bring up Locks IQ. All right. So Taylor, give me a verbal if you can see the colored boxes on the screen.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right. Can you also see me?
Yes, I can. In my view, I can see you up in the corner in a thumbnail.
Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, So let me do this. Now that I know that that works, I'm actually going to show you the system here. Let's see. How did I get out of here? Come on, let's see. All right. I am going to stop sharing for a second. Okay. I have two locks behind me. I've got a cylindrical lock here, and I have a mortise lock here. So on most interior doors, it's either a cylindrical lock or a mortise lock. The mortise lock has latch only and also with the deadbolt, just like traditional mortise locks have. Someone likely is going to ask, how about exit trim? How about exit devices? I got existing Von Duprin 99 exit devices in my hallways. Can I put Proxess on those? The answer to that is yes, but we do not have an exit trim yet. We actually, if anyone's going to ISC West here in a few weeks, we'd love to showcase our latest product, which is going to be an exit trim. It's going to look a lot like our mortise trim here, but it's actually going to keep your exit device, keep your Von Duprin 99 or Precision or Sargent exit device, and Proxess will be able to take that lever or pull trim off the exterior of that door and put our, what I'm about to show you, our product right there onto that door. We do not have that yet, okay, but that is coming. So the idea, but let's say you have some of those, we have a way to handle that with what we call our Mini IQ reader controller setup, but slightly more complicated than we like it to be. So that's why we're bringing trim to the marketplace here this year. Okay, how does Proxess work? Think about this. I'm going to grab this lock. Okay, old lock off. All right, new Proxess lock on. All right, facilities team can do that work. This is a cylindrical lock based on the type of lock this is. This means that your facilities can do this work. Your facilities team or maintenance team can do this work. Why? Because on the cylindrical lock especially, there's no additional door prep required. So you take that old existing brass keyed mechanical lock off there, it leaves what's called a 161 cylindrical prep in that door. Proxess uses that same prep to put this lock on, okay? Usually takes to take the old lock off and put a new Proxess lock on. Takes about 15 minutes or so, sometimes less once you start going down the hallway, okay? So once I put that lock on, I bind and sync it to my software using my administrative app, which I'm going to show you in a minute. We call it Locks IQ with the and Proxess IQ. So whoever's installing it, they'll have a phone more than likely. They'll have a sync app on their phone. They'll bind and sync it via Bluetooth. Then within about 90 seconds or so, you can start issuing, maybe less, maybe 60 seconds, you can start issuing all of your employees, all of your students, all of your staff, all of your tenants mobile keys that access that lock, right? Now notice something I didn't mention. I didn't mention IT. I didn't mention network drops. I didn't mention MAC addresses. I didn't mention connecting this lock to any kind of IT connectivity at all because we don't need it. We actually leverage the technology either on the phone or the credential or the fob of Proxess as the brains of the system. Think of it as the brains of the system. So that lock is smart, but it's mostly dumb, if that can be a thing. It's smart, but mostly dumb. So basically what that lock is doing on that phone or on that door is it's actually saying, hey, I'm waiting to be told what to do. I'm waiting to be told what to do either by the phone or waiting to be told what to do by the fob. So you'll notice I'm within Bluetooth range of this lock because I am and I have access to it. I am using, I'm calling Big Blue. So I'm actually going to operate this lock. You'll see the blue light and then a green light. And then it lets me in and then it locks back up. But here's the power of Proxess. So I've got my mobile phone. So I've got my mobile key that I carry everywhere. This is an app download, one-time fee to our customers. It's about $7 per mobile key. Okay, it's a one-time fee. There's no recurring fees. There's no recurring fees on the locks with Proxess. No recurring fees on the mobile keys. No recurring fees on the software. You buy it one time and you continue to use it. With our DesFire credential, which is one of only 2 unhacked credentials in the security space, You can reuse these fobs and cards, however you want to use them, over and over and over again. But here's what's beautiful about Proxess is you can also reuse your mobile keys. So students leave, teachers leave, staff leaves, tenants leave. You turn off their mobile key from the software and you issue it to the next person. They leave, you turn it off, you issue it to the next person. So if you have 200 tenants or 400 teachers and staff, you one time buy, I would say buy a few more than that. So let's say you buy 425 mobile keys. You can just reuse and reuse and reuse, and you'll never have to be chasing mobile keys with Proxess. But why do I keep talking about the mobile key? And this is it, and I'm going to finish up and open it up for questions here in just a minute. But here's the power of Proxess. So remember, no IT required. All right, I'm going to bring up audit logs of Locks IQ. All right, so what I want you to do is I want you to watch very, very carefully what Proxess can do. So when I'm accessing this lock with my phone via Bluetooth as my mobile key, Proxess is leveraging the cell data and Wi-Fi connectivity of this phone to send two things back to the software via our cloud in real time. You ready? We're sending back, and you can see it dropping in. It's very quick, but you can see it dropping in. We're sending back two things, as you can see on the screen. We're sending back the door that's been accessed, the user that accessed it, which is me, Paul, mobile iPhone, the event date, and the event time. All that comes back in real time. The fact that I'm within proximity of the locks and this software that you're seeing doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is my connectivity via Bluetooth to these locks. That's all that matters. We all can be on a beach in Cabo right now watching these transactions come in on our tablet or on our phone with Proxess. And we can even issue mobile keys to people from that beach in Cabo. We don't have to be at the lock. So remember, this is not like anything you've likely seen in the electronic security space, okay? We do not have to, when you want to add a user, I don't have to go to that lock and add that user to the lock, right? Because all I need to do is add that door to the credential. And then these credentials go to those doors and say, hey, I know who you are, Mr. Door. You got to let me in. And the door lets them in and tracks it, okay? So the power of Proxess is what I'm showing you here. When you can use your mobile phone as your key, we are able to leverage cell data and Wi-Fi connectivity of that phone to send door user date and time and battery life of those doors back to the software in real time, okay? Battery life is always a question we get. 4 AA batteries, nothing special about them. They come with every lock, and you can replace them whenever you want. Because I'm not talking to Wi-Fi and I'm not connected to Wi-Fi, I again get 95,000 transactions with a phone and about 70,000 transactions with a card or a fob, all right, on 4 AA batteries. Because again, I'm not connected to Wi-Fi, so I'm not waking up, and it's not a database on lock situation where the lock needs new information all the time. So I'm never roaming, trying to find wireless access points. I'm never concerned if the Wi-Fi goes down in the building. The only thing I may be using Wi-Fi for is if a mobile key is connected to Wi-Fi in that building. And that Wi-Fi is simply my internet connection out to our cloud to send that transaction and battery life back. That's the only reason I may need Wi-Fi, okay? So ultimately what we're trying to do with Proxess is eliminate the daily use of brass keys for about the price of a keyed lock, replace every lock in your facility with Proxess, because why not? I'm just, might as well go big or go home. So replace every mechanical lock with a Proxess lock and never issue these again. Leverage these and or these fobs or even cards, depending on what you would like to do. And think of it this way. 2 final thoughts, and then I'll open it up. think of yourself as managing right now, or at least all of your staff or students, yourself, carrying these three credentials, right? So access badge, more than likely of some kind, or maybe a fob that gets you access into the exterior of your building through your current online electronic access control system. Then everyone's carrying at least a couple of keys, maybe one if you're lucky, but a handful of keys to go where they need to go throughout the interior of your facilities. Okay, that's number two. And then they're carrying one of these. Now, likely it's not being used as a key of any kind. And so that's where Proxess ultimately wants to do this little magic trick here, where we replace the brass key with the mobile key, or we replace the brass key with the fob. Now, let me be clear. You're still managing two access control systems. But guess what? You already are today. Now, most people don't think of this as access control, but it absolutely is. Okay, so maybe that's your one takeaway from today. Ooh, I've got two access control systems. I got an electronic access control system, and I have a brass key access control system. What Proxess wants to do for you is eliminate the 24/7, 365 undocumented access control system and replace it using a key that everyone's already carrying and likely will not leave at home and is always managing battery life for. And so now you're still managing two. All right. I don't want to pretend that there's some sort of panacea here. Just think of it. You're still managing two, but now at least both are digital. And now at least you're on a path to either integrate these two over time or eventually just go to this. Okay. And that's ultimately what Proxess wants to do. The final thing that I wanted to share is you may notice that red button on my mobile key. It says enter, that one says enter lockdown, and the other one says exit lockdown. So for any of our school customers or any customer really that you want to have an additional layer at that classroom level, let's just say that classroom layer, we are a partner for the Partner Alliance for Safer Schools, or PASS, PASS. If you haven't been to passk12.org, I would encourage you to do that. If you're a K through 12 leader, they have some fantastic guidelines on how you could continue to layer security within your schools. Well, we believe very strongly in the classroom layer and very affordably bringing lockdown and notification with no IT required at that classroom level for about the price of a keyed lock. So how does it work? Same way as I do. I'm going to grab this lock just for fun. Think about this. This is a classroom, or excuse me, this is a storeroom function lock out of the box, meaning it's locked all the time, right? Storeroom function is locked all the time. Need a key to retract the latch, okay? I notice I'm depressing this lever and the latch is not retracting. We just built a lost motion capability into this lock, okay? We just don't want, especially in high schools and middle schools, kids standing on that trying to break that lever, okay? But it's in the locked position. Let's say the teacher, because a lot of disruption, has the door open during instruction period, but knows that it's in the locked position. That teacher hears something in the hallway. They get to the door and they slam it shut. They can either use the button on the inside to disable the card reader and put it into lockdown while they're at the door for either 3 or 6 seconds, or they can now that they're behind a locked classroom door, they remember their training and they remember that they can take a deep breath, get their students safe behind a locked classroom door. Remember, one of the safest places to be in an event in a school is behind a locked classroom door. Okay, so now I'm behind a locked classroom door, but I remember I want to notify people of what's going on. So I can simply find my app. Now, this is not simple because it's a stressful environment that you're in, okay? But the idea is we want to give them mobile capability to bring up their app and from across the room, put this door into lockdown, okay? So I've now put this, I actually put the mortise lock into lockdown. Perfect, let's do that. So now this is in lockdown, okay? Every few seconds on the inside of this lock, it's flashing red at me. right? Because that's telling me, hey, your lockdown worked. So I'm on the inside of the door. It's flashing red at me. The same thing will happen with the cylindrical. Here's what's also really great. It's a little hard to see, but there's red lettering there that says this door is currently in lockdown. So under a stressful event with Proxess, I can get my door locked down. I can disable, it's already locked. I disable the card reader. It's flashing on the inside, indicating that it worked. And now it's flashing, and now it shows on my mobile key. But the best part of lockdown with Proxess with no IT required is now in my audit logs, you can see lockdown initiated, door user, date, and time. And with our Proxess IQ server-based software, you can get notifications both by email and text message of this event, and then you can take action from there. So there's a lot to that lockdown conversation, obviously more than just a 5-minute presentation here, but I wanted to just showcase that for about the price of a keyed lock, no IT required, you can bring lockdown capability and notification through the mobile phone to every classroom door very, very effectively. If that's a feature you'd like to include as part of your Proxess system, it's included in every lock, it's included in every system. It just, if you want to turn it on and off, that's obviously your prerogative based on that system. And with that, I'll stop talking and open it up to any questions you may have.
We have a couple in the chat from earlier when you were going through adding users. So the first question is, can you add a user by group to a set of doors?
Yeah, absolutely. You can add door groups, you can add access levels, you can add user groups. Absolutely. Now that, as you get into more of that kind of functionality, that's going to lend itself more to our Proxess IQ, server client-based software versus just the app. But you can do similar things on the app, just limited functionality on the app. But.
And then a follow-up question to that was, can you limit access to a door by date and time?
Oh, great question. Absolutely, yes. You can, let's say you've got an IT contractor or another contractor that comes in every Tuesday and Wednesday between 10 and 2. You can give them an access schedule that's all they have access to. And if they don't have access to that particular door, let's say they come in on Thursday or Friday, the big blue won't show up for them. So it's not like they can keep trying to access it. The app will just say looking for nearest door. If you're using fobs or cards, same thing applies. Same thing applies. You can apply access schedules however you want.
Cool. Are there any other questions out there? You can hop on your mic, drop them in the chat. Tim McHugh, your hand is raised.
Hey, thanks, Taylor. Paul, this is really great information. I have not seen this before. Very impressed by it. We talk about kind of next gen security products as part of our managed security services offering. And the tagline on that is they're smarter, faster, and better. And I think your product checks every one of those boxes. Couple questions. You may have covered this.
Sure.
If the lock is getting low on battery, is there a notification that comes out of it? Is it beep? Do you get something back in your portal? Can you elaborate on that?
Yep, great question, Tim. So yeah, multiple things happen. Let me give you the principle first. We spent 9 years developing this product. What I showed you today is essentially a second generation of that product. The reason it's second generation, we spent most of our time in engineering, field testing, and design. And one of the biggest things we focused on was battery life, to your point, Tim. We can't ask people you're gonna never have to change batteries on a mechanical pin tumbler lock, all right? So that's one of our biggest barriers we know as a company. Hey, we gotta make it as easy and cost effective to move to an electronic simple lock for every door. All right, so what happens? As I mentioned, battery life, 95,000 transaction when using a mobile key, 70,000 when using our DesFire credential. At 30%, 25, and 20%, the lock starts flashing and beeping differently at the user. Still lets them in, but starts flashing. If those are people are using mobile keys, it'll also put a warning on the actual mobile key. But people ignore that, right? They just blow by it. They just ignore it. So the other feature we built into, remember, when I use my mobile key for access, battery life gets sent back when I use the mobile key, right? So I can always have a up-to-date battery life in my software. So you can set up notifications, you can run reports, but I encourage people, set up a notification that says at 40%, send me an email. Tell me which door and what the percentage is, and then I can create work orders for my team and go change those locks long before or change the batteries in those locks long before they ever go dead.
Okay, great.
And you
great.
said it was 4 AA batteries or AAA?
4 AA's.
4 AA's.
Yep. That's right.
And one other question. So using your mobile credential, I'm sure if you have some sort of immediate need to stop access for someone to a door, all doors, whatever the case may be, they leave your organization. That's an immediate shut off once you go in and adjust the user. Is that correct? Right. If I say they can't come in, their mobile credential is effectively burned, right?
That's exactly right. And then that mobile key goes back into your allotment and you can reissue it. You don't lose it.
How is it handled if they're using the fob?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm glad you asked that. So using the fob, remember, this isn't connected obviously to anything.
Right.
This is not connected to anything. By the way, here's a look at the 4 AA batteries, just so you know. Not that you didn't believe me, but there they are. Okay. Easy to get to, that kind of thing. So Tim asked a very important question here. So remember, locks are not connected. Okay. No IT. Fobs aren't connected. No IT. Okay. Now I can use these fobs all day long and gain access. With the Proxess system, every transaction that's made on this fob is captured on this fob or card or coin sticker tag, and it's on the lock as well. Okay, so everything is captured, but the key word there is captured. So Tim's question is really important. What do we do when a fob is lost? But let's just start with what happens when an employee leaves or student leaves or a tenant leaves and they hand their fob back in. No problem. I wipe that fob and re-enroll it to the next user. No problem. I never have to visit that lock. The only time I have to visit a Proxess lock when I'm using a hard credential like a key. Okay. If I'm using the mobile phones, it's all mobile key access. I never have to visit those locks. As Tim said, I turn them off and on. Let's say I lose this. Okay, here's your 2-step process. Hey, Taylor, I lost my fob. Taylor goes into our software, into the Proxess software, just like you would any other software, and you would blocklist this fob. It's called blocklist. It's really simple. I could show you. It's very simple, but you just pull up that user, you hit blocklist. But here's the challenge. The lock isn't connected to anything. So as far as the lock knows, it's still going to let this fob in, right? This fob effectively still has rights to that door. So then what you have to do is then once you blocklist it in the software, you simply visit the lock, and I'll actually demonstrate this real quick. You visit the lock via Bluetooth with your administration app, okay? And you bring that door up. So this particular door is the Proxess Residence Hall 212, this guy here. And I'm just going to sync to this lock. So I'm syncing via Bluetooth to that lock, and I'm telling that lock, blocklist this fob. You know what it's also doing is it's also pulling all non-mobile key transactions, fob, cards, even mechanical key access that we track. That's a patented feature on our cylindrical locks. So you even track, all of our locks have a key override on them. But when you sync to that lock, you notice it takes about 8.5 seconds via Bluetooth. I don't have to plug in. I just have to be within Bluetooth range. It also tracks when a mechanical key might have been used on that lock. So you get a full audit trail of everything that's happened at that lock. So that's that process, Tim. But here's the point. I want you to compare it to the very easy comparison point is, well, Paul, with my electronic access control, I can just sit at my computer and disable fobs. You're right. You're 100% right. But there's also a reason you haven't taken that electronic access control down your hallways and to your classrooms and to your offices because of the price point. So what I want you to think about is think about Proxess compared to a lost key versus what I just showed you, which is a lost fob. Now remember, if I lose let's say it's a worst case scenario, Tim, and we lose, this is a master fob. This has access to 100 doors in my facilities. You'd blacklist this fob at that user, and you could deploy a team of 2, 5, 10, as many people as you want with the administrative app on their phone, and they would just go and sync those doors 10 seconds at a time, blacklist that fob. And, you know, within a matter of minutes, you blacklisted this fob, but guess what? Nobody gets a new fob. Everybody's fob or mobile key still works in those locks. The only thing you've affected is that one lost fob. So you don't have to reissue new keys. You don't have to have everybody come to the office. Hey, get your new key. We just rekeyed. All of that's gone. There's still rekeying that has to happen with Proxess. It's just digital now. Now, the one thing I haven't mentioned is our Bluetooth gateways, what we call our BX gateway/controller. You can deploy those down the hallways as well and never have to visit a lock again. All right. Just know that even though it's still very cost effective compared to an traditional online electronic access control door, it does add cost to it. But if you say, Paul, I never want to visit one of these locks after I install it, all right, you know, we've got that functionality. It just adds cost.
Great. I appreciate that. I'd assume there was some sort of manual intervention, some way, somehow that would need to take place. Again, I think I love your comparison that it's to the brass key, right, as opposed to the exterior electronic control. So appreciate it. Thanks for all the information.
Thank you. I would add one more thing. Whoever loses a master level key, their penance is to take their phone and walk to every door and sync to every door as punishment for losing a master fob in a Proxess system. How's that? I'm being cheeky, of course, but the idea is they could do it. You don't have to call locksmith. You don't have to. And so then what you have to think is, how often do we lose a master fob? Maybe it's once a year, maybe it's once every 2 years. Okay, then you have to think, all right, well then do we need gateways down the hallway and that IT complexity, or can we just start with offline locks and then go from there? I know there's a couple other questions, but I want to just finalize this thought here real quick. You could go offline locks. So this school district in Ohio, just one of our recent customers, Tim Stegner's on the call. He'd be able to tell you about this as well. So Tim, to your point, if they said, hey, I never want to visit a Proxess lock again, but we're going to use hard credentials, physical credentials. What Proxess can do is we can put our online doors. This is what this Ohio school district did. They put online doors with Proxess, and then they put a timestamp on every fob, or they're in the process of that. So they're putting, say, every 48 hours, they have to hit an online reader to refresh it. So even if this fob gets lost after 48 hours or 24 hours, it's no longer good. It's out of the system because you're going to disable it on the online readers. And even if someone tailgates through those online readers without presenting this fob, after 48 hours, our offline locks are smart enough to know, hey, I know who you are and I know I should let you in, but I also know you're past your refresh date. You got to go back. So there's multiple ways to manage a Proxess system without visiting a lock, and we'd always love to share with you those details.
All right, John Kinsey, you are up next.
Very patient, John Kinsey.
My question is behind how you interface with Active Directory to roll out mobile credentials to people.
Yeah, great question. So we have an Active Directory connected, John, to our Proxess IQ server client system. We also have an open API as well. And so Active Directory is a great first step. Actually, Active Directory may be a second step. First step would be just a simple .csv import file of users and what access and what doors you want them to give access to. We have those templates. Yes, it would be double entry. So you would be whatever electronic access control system you're managing, you would need double, that would be double entry for a Proxess system at that point. But then you could also leverage Active Directory, as you said, John. So whatever data your current online electronic access control, whatever system they're pulling from, we could also pull from through that Active Directory. And then we also have some partners in the marketplace, one very specific partner, great partner called Swift Data. And they have actually written a plugin for Proxess. This is primarily in that higher ed, college and university space, but it really can be for anybody where they've written a Proxess plugin that allows their middleware to pull from other systems into ours as well.
Okay. So when you assign a mobile credential to someone, does it get pushed out to them via an email? And does that email have a token in it that gives them the access? Or is it literally just a link to your site or to your app, and then they create an account and they have access because you've already put them into the system?
Yeah, great question. So it's via email, it's automated through our system, and there is an authentication token link that's part of that email as well. So the idea is, hey, welcome to Proxess. There's a Apple Store logo or a Google Play Store logo. This is in your email. So any mobile key user is going to need to be able to access email on their phone. They're going to need to have access to one of the stores, Apple Play or Google Play. You got to remember their iCloud password. Just FYI, that happens from time to time. And they have to have Bluetooth and location services enabled while using the app. Those three things. But once you so that email comes in on my phone, I access that email. I pick the Apple Store or Google Play. I download the app that way. But now all I have is the app. Anybody in the world can download the app. To your point then, John, within the second step is there's an authentication link in that email, that same email. So I download the app, I go back to the email, I hit the authentication link. It automatically opens my app. And if I'm within Bluetooth range of said door, Big Blue shows up. And now I have access.
Thank you.
Yep.
Shoot, I was muted.
Yep.
I'm telling you all, one of these days I'll remember. Are there any other questions out there? You can hop on your mic, raise your hand, drop them in the chat, text, email me. That was a lot of information.
Hey, Paul, this is Tim Stegner. Quick question for you. I don't know if you talked about it earlier. Sorry if I missed it, but if I want to keep my office unlocked when I get here, and can you talk about how I can unlock my door during the day while I'm here and leave it unlocked? And
Yeah. Thank you, Tim. Great question. So 2 thoughts: unlock and lock schedules for Proxess. Absolutely very easy to do, both in the app and our server-based software, and first time in as well. So you want to put an unlock schedule on a door, a restroom door for parks. That's a very popular thing for Proxess, for example. So all that capability is there. What Tim is talking about is even on our mobile key or actually on the lock. Hey, I come into my office, or I come into my classroom, I come into my student room. I want to be able to leave this lock in the unlocked position. You'll notice I've got a bunch of gray here. This one says toggle unlocked. So I'm actually going to, via Bluetooth, I'm going to toggle that lock unlocked. And so
Paul, just for your reference, your screen is frozen.
Oh no. Still frozen?
Yes. I can hear you. You're there we go.
there we go.
There you go. You're back with us.
Okay. All right. All right. So I have now put this lock into an unlocked mode. So now anybody can come and go. It's in a passage mode. Okay. And on my mobile key, it shows
You're
this
frozen
door is
again.
currently unlocked. Oh man.
Sorry. I know you're like visually showing something.
No, I'm sorry. I can
Taylor, it's not freezing on mine. I don't know if it's
Oh.
freezing on other people's screens.
Okay.
So
Okay. I can
Roll
put
with
it in the I can put it in the unlocked position. That's the short answer with either my mobile key or a button on the inside. Now this has a deadbolt with the thumb turn, so it doesn't have that. But our cylindrical lock has a button on the inside. Our latch only mortise lock has a button on the inside where this thumb turn is. You can hit that and leave it in the unlock. So all of that's programmable in the software. You can leave it locked all the time. You can leave it unlocked in certain hours of the day. You can give people the ability to leave it unlocked. Maybe you say, hey, I want to give people the ability to leave it unlocked from their mobile key or from the button on the lock. But you know what? Every night at 10 o'clock, I want it to lock back up. You can do that too. So you give people some functionality, but you know at 10 o'clock, all these locks are in the locked position overnight. All programmable in the Proxess system. Okay. Now my screen's gone blank. Can you hear me? All right.
We can hear you. I was muted again. Oh man. Are there any other questions out there before we close things out? Check the chat. I don't see anything in the chat. So if there are no further questions, I will go ahead and close this out here. Again, thank you all for joining us. We appreciate your time, and certainly if you have any follow-up questions or want a more in-depth demo as it relates to your specific situation, we would be more than happy to set that up. Feel free to reach out to myself or your IPS account representative, and we will connect with Paul and get something on the line. And with that, I just want to wish everyone a good rest of their Tuesday. And I'll be sending out some follow-up emails so you have some information.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Taylor. Thanks, IPS team. Thanks for joining. Proxess.com. See everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That was great.
Thanks,
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks,
thank you.
everybody.
Appreciate it, Paul.
Yep. Cheers.